Happy anniversary to me. Happy anniversary to me. Happy anniversary to Hannah. Happy anniversary to me. And many more. What am I celebrating today? Yes, I'm making a selfish video today. What am I celebrating? I am celebrating 2 years seizure free, baby. Yes, I got myself a balloon and everything. I hope I'm holding it the right way because, you know, the camera's backwards, so I can't tell. Anyways, 2 years seizure free, and man, oh man, the gratitude is real. It's not only 2 years seizure free, it's also 1 year ago since I felt the Lord tell me it was time to start my online ministry. The Lord I always knew that I was supposed to be evangelical and share the gospel by my mouth, verbally. I always knew that I was called to write and to speak. But it was a year ago today that the Lord was like, you need to start using your time wisely. You're always on social media. It's time to start using your platform for me. And so I did. And at first it was just devotional readings, and sometimes I would share like opinion videos or something. But mainly just devotional readings, occasional prayer videos. And then it was in December of last year that I officially launched my ministry with the after I had taken a few months of praying about what the Lord wanted the name of my ministry to be. I officially launched it with the title and the logo and this and that. And then throughout this past year, there's just been so much more prayer and growth in not just the ministry, but just myself personally. The Lord has been working on me in so many things inside and out. And I remember when I hit that 1 year anniversary in 2025, and the level of gratitude, I don't know that I've ever felt that level of gratitude before. It is surreal. And gratitude is such a huge part of this ministry. I'm constantly talking about it in my videos. You'll hear that word thrown around a lot, because it's something that's so important for everyone, for all of our souls. It's something that's very important in the faith. You know, even during times of trials, we still need to recognize and be appreciative for what God has given us. And this, you know, someone who doesn't know me, welcome to my channel. And honestly, even people who've been watching my videos, probably other than me literally telling you this is my 2 year seizure free anniversary, you may or may not know my testimony, so you're probably still a little confused. But so let me back up just a sec. I have epilepsy. I've had epilepsy my entire life, pretty much, other than the first year of my life. Anyhow, so I'm used to epilepsy. It's been a struggle, but for the most part, my seizures have been well managed with medication. For the most part, I'd have breakthrough seizures here and there. It is what it is. My oldest son, his name's Levi. He had epilepsy, and he unfortunately ended up passing away due to sudden, unexpected death in epilepsy. And then my youngest son, Benjamin, he also has epilepsy as well. Fortunately, his epilepsy is very controlled with his medication, and his seizures are much more mild than mine, and certainly much more mild than his older brother's. So that is a blessing. But after I had Benjamin, which was back in 2023, my health, I'm type 1 diabetic, I have chronic migraines, and the epilepsy I also have a couple of other things as well that in my mind are kind of more minor, I guess. But all of my health, all the good things, they started flaring up. And I mean, my migraines went astray, my blood sugars were out of control. I was having really bad vertigo. I couldn't work, I couldn't drive, I was having seizures all the time. I was in and out of the hospital. They were constantly changing my medications. Some of the medications were making it worse. My weight was all over the place. Obviously, you're dealing with the side effects of medications. I mean, it was a hot mess. And this went on for almost the entire first year and a half of Benjamin's life. And it has caused, a lot of mental side effects since then. And I don't just mean literally, like there have been literal mental side effects, mainly when it comes to my memory. Like I literally do not remember a lot of his first year and a half of his life. Almost, I'd say that his first like 14, 15 months. And that has been something that's been really, really challenging for me, which I think anybody could understand, even if you're not a parent. You can probably imagine putting yourself in a parent's shoes and being like, wow, I can only imagine. But if you are a parent, obviously that hits closer to home. And unfortunately, that is just a sad reality of something that could happen or has happened if you have a neurological health condition. And I had seizures in the past, or a series of seizures in the past, that gave me little memory gaps, but nothing ever to this extent. And the summer of 2024 was by far the worst during that whole time period, because there were just so many seizures in like 3 months. And in that 3-month period, I had something like 13 hospital stays. And when I say stays, I mean like admitted overnight for multiple nights. There were maybe 2 or 3 where it was just an ER visit in and out, but I had most of that was staying. And one of the doctors I saw, one of the visits, she ended up becoming my now like actual doctor. And she was, 100% the Lord worked through her she was the vice that he worked through to help get me on the right set of medications, get me on the right track to be where I am today, 2 years seizure free. And epilepsy is like any health condition in the sense that not everything works for everybody. And there's some people who unfortunately can't find yet something that works for them, and they're struggling with seizures every day. There's people who it's a blessing, they are unmedicated and they've been seizure free for 20 plus years. It's, and any health condition is like that, neurological, physical, anything. It's everybody's body is different, everybody's mind is different. And one thing I do with my ministry, and this is straight from the Lord, this is a huge part of my testimony, is my health. And my health is directly related to both of my biological children's health, not just because, oh, well, they're my kids. No, like literally I have passed genes onto them, like we've done genetic testing. And it's all intertwined, and a huge part of my testimony and what God has called me to do is be an advocate for special needs in general, but specifically the special needs that I have experience with, which is epilepsy and autism, which, but currently for the purpose of this holiday, we're talking about epilepsy. So it's, what better opportunity? It's been a while since I have made a video for epilepsy and or autism, so I need to start making at least a video or two a month dedicated to one or both of those. That's something I need to start doing again, because it has been a few months, to be honest. And the National Epilepsy Awareness Month is coming up, so I do have some things planned for that. But, you know, a lot of what I do with those things, I do a lot, mostly on Facebook, to be honest. Mostly on Facebook. But I need to do more actual videos for you guys. A lot of it is spreading education, and a lot of it is so people will know that they're not alone. And for epilepsy, there's a lot of little things that I want to educate about. You know, the types of seizures. What do you do if someone has a seizure? Medication side effects, things like that. Again, these are things I need to make videos on, because it's things I share on Facebook. And in my day-to-day life, I have a lot of in-person experiences where I have opportunities to share this information as well. But a huge thing, and I would almost debate what started all of this in regards to sharing about, let me back up. In regards to having such a strong passion for special needs in general and wanting to advocate for epilepsy, and then later on autism came into the picture as well, which that's a different part of the testimony that we'll get to in an autism video. But SUDEP, I mentioned earlier, my oldest son passed away from SUDEP, is how you say the abbreviation, but sudden unexpected death in epilepsy. I want to shout from the rooftops about SUDEP, because that is unfortunately something that a lot of people, even in the epilepsy community, don't know about. A lot of people do not know that you can actually pass away from epilepsy, not just from literally having a seizure and falling on accident and you happen to hit your head or something like that. No, like your brain, anyone who has epilepsy, any age, any demographic, any, you know, culture, race, whatever, can, any type of seizures, any length of seizures, any whatever, your brain can literally just get tired and stop working, unfortunately. And that is what happened to my oldest son. And I have had epilepsy my entire life. He was almost 2, and he got diagnosed with epilepsy shortly after he was 1. So we'll just, for rounding up purposes, we'll just say he lived with epilepsy for 11 months. And in his 11 months with it, and at the time, hold on, let me math. At the time when he passed away, I was 24. I started having seizures when I was 1. So my 23 years at the time with epilepsy, his 11 months, I had never, ever even heard of SUDEP. Okay? Not from any of my doctors, not from his doctors. And, you know, that is a problem. And I can only imagine from a healthcare worker's perspective the challenges of, I don't want to scare my patient if there's not something to be scared of right now. I don't want to be put in those shoes. I don't know about you. And that's not just with epilepsy. That's any healthcare provider with any health issue ever. I don't want to be, I hate that for y'all. That's one of the many challenges I can imagine healthcare workers have to be put in that position of, how much do I share? You know, there's all these risks of things that could happen, but they most likely won't. And I don't want to scare this patient, but they do need to know, where's the line drawn? And so the problem is with SUDEP that I have found, and in the years since then, I've met more people who have epilepsy, have children with epilepsy. I've joined a lot of Facebook groups. I've been in contact with like the National Foundation, just more things. And there are simply just a lot of more stories similar to mine where people had loved ones who passed away and they had no idea that that could happen. And that is so disheartening. You know, I'm not saying this in any way in like a, you know, attack on the neurologist. No, it's not like that. Like I just got through saying, I cannot imagine the position that those doctors are put in. Very sticky situation, especially if we're talking about a child, you know, a toddler, you know, hey, they have epilepsy. By the way, they could unexpectedly die at any moment. And you're the parent and you're like, okay. Well, how do you prevent that, doctor? You can't. Just, you know, make them take their medicine and keep doing what you're supposed to be doing and do your best, and that's all you can do. And if it happens, it happens. You're like, okay. Like, I mean, that's harsh and awful, but I mean, that's the reality of it. But like I said, simultaneously in life, it's nice to have a heads up, or at least that's how I felt. You know, I was so blindsided. You know, when you get a cancer diagnosis, people often know, okay, I know the risks, you know, whether you're in stage 1 or stage 4, people know what could happen. Doesn't mean it will. People overcome cancer all the time by the grace of God, but people know what could happen. With other health issues, with other injuries, with surgeries, with all these things, oftentimes people are told the risks of what could happen. What I have found with epilepsy is that often does not happen. They often will tell you about some of the side effects of medications, but it also just depends on your doctor. Now, fortunately, I have a really awesome doctor now, and I had a really awesome doctor when I first became an adult, and then she retired, and then I did not have an awesome doctor for a little while, and that not so awesome doctor is who was treating me when my seizures were really haywire after I had Benjamin. And then my doctor now, she is a different doctor and she's also really awesome. Benjamin's doctor is really awesome. Levi's doctors, in hindsight, they're not the best. For multiple reasons. They might have been doing their best, and I will give them grace for that. But in hindsight, from a parent's perspective and the experience I have, I wish I had gone with a different doctor. I did change his doctor a couple times, and still, neurologist, let me be specific. His pediatrician was awesome. So all of this rambling to come full circle, epilepsy is one of those things where I feel like even within the community, there is just not enough talked about with the risk of SUDEP. It isn't necessarily something that we have a cure for at this point. So it's not even like it would be a long conversation, unfortunately. You know, I couldn't necessarily sit here and tell you, okay, if you see X, Y, and Z sign that your loved one is doing, take them to the doctor because they might be about to experience SUDEP. I can't tell you that. I can't say, oh, drink this drink or take this other medication or go to this doctor for a jog or whatever and it will help prevent SUDEP. I can't tell you any of that. It would be a short conversation. However, it could help with the feeling of what could I have done differently? How could I have gone about this better? Did I do something wrong? What is going on? And all of these emotions are very normal, and they're tied to grief, which I'm not going to lie, even after I found out that Levi passed away from SUDEP, I still had regrets, but finding out that it was something that could not have been prevented and I had no control over, yes, to an extent, you still will wrestle with those emotions because they're real, they're realistic when you're going through that journey, especially if you're a parent who just lost a child. And you need to allow yourself to feel those things in the journey of grief. You don't need to suppress them. You need to feel those things and come to a healthy place where you can still very much thank God for the gift you had of even having that person in your life. So, and I personally was never angry with God for bringing Levi home earlier than I would have preferred. I won't lie. I would much have preferred that he'd taken me far before Levi. But I don't think that wasn't part of his plan, and I'm okay with that, as bizarre as that may sound. And that is a whole part of my testimony, which I do speak on a little bit in my David series, which is coming out, episode 1 at the end of this week. Moral of the story is, I feel like when we have knowledge in this life, regardless of what it is on, when we have knowledge, when we have any type of gift, whatever it may be, we should share that, because most likely that is a spiritual gift. And the Lord, that's not an accident. The Lord is going to use that for his greater plan. If you listen to him, if you have a relationship with him and you tune into him, and if you get off the beating path and then you allow him to redirect you back onto his path, or say you never get off the beating path of his, he's going to use all these little nuggets that you wouldn't necessarily think would be a part of his plan, a part of a bigger purpose. He's going to use those. You know, your personality. Look at that lighting. It just got dark. Oh my goodness. Oh, it just got bright. Okay. So much is happening. He's going to even use your personality traits. He's going to use those for his kingdom. Speaking from experience, I used to be really shy as a kid, but if you knew me, like, personally outside of, say, school or something, I talked a lot. I've always talked a lot. And once I met my friend Amanda in middle school, that little shy girl, she was bye-bye. She left. And ever since then, I've just been talkative to everybody, everywhere. And I've always loved to write. These are just two of my personality traits, two things I've always enjoyed. And the Lord has made my calling for his kingdom known from an early age. Now, I haven't always stayed on the beating path for his plan, and he's had to redirect me multiple times, and he has patience for me, and he has patience for you, and he has a lot of grace for us should we accept that gift. But, you know, the details, the next steps, things like that, that's where you just have to put your trust into him. So everything that I do for this ministry, I pray about first. I trust him and his timing. And he literally, you know, he tells me, you do X, I'll tell you when it's time to do Y. So that's what we do. And I just want you to know, whatever you are going through, you're not alone. Whatever it is. I personally may not be able to relate to your exact situation. Actually, even if you are going through something that I can relate to, I guarantee you I've not been through your exact situation. We may be able to relate to each other. We may be able to connect. Even if you don't have epilepsy, if you share a little bit of your story in the comments, oh, wait, hold on. I didn't mean to turn my chair. We still may have something in common that you don't even realize yet, but whatever it is you're going through, whether it's money stress or family stress or friend drama, something at work, something going on with your child, you know, something with their school, something with their health, something with your health, you know, you just had a family member, friend, distant loved one, that'd be a family member, just someone you know, a celebrity you admire, whatever, pass away. You know, I don't, maybe you're dealing with grief in a different kind of way that's not a death. Whatever it may be, maybe you're just in general dealing with your mental health. You know, maybe you can't necessarily pinpoint something, but you're struggling. Does that make sense? You know, everyone's got something, whether it is a sunflower seed or a big old pine tree outside. Everyone's got something that they're dealing with, and if you don't, you will, because unfortunately that is life. However, you're going through it. You're not going to stay in it, because that is life, and life is full of ups and downs. And no matter what topic I'm talking about, be it a series going on, be it a video where I'm talking about the subject of grief and grief journey and emotions that go with that and choices, or if I'm talking about the things that I advocate and educate for, epilepsy and autism, you know, things like that. Regardless of what it is, at the end of the day, the whole point of this channel is to share the gospel, is to be a part of the Great Commission. As believers, that is what we are called to do. We are called to share the message, to share the gospel in however we can, whatever that looks like. If you are called to go and be a janitor at a high school and you literally spend every morning smiling to the same grouchy ninth graders that come in on their cell phones, well, you may not feel like you're making a difference, but you actually are, because you don't know what they're going through and you don't know how much they needed that smile from you. Everyone is a part of the body of Christ. Everyone has value. Everyone is important. You need to accept his gift of grace. And whatever you are going through, whatever size of the tree it is, you need to turn it over to the Lord, because let me tell you, he will carry you through it. There was a point in time when I was still in the heat of my seizures, where I was probably at my lowest point that I ever have been. I was so depressed. And I will say part of this, I do firmly believe, was a contribution from all the medications they have me on. I've never been suicidal to the point where I would actually go and physically harm myself. I've personally never struggled with that. However, during this period of time, I didn't have the will to live. Does that make sense? Like, I wanted to be alive. I didn't want to go and take actions, but I basically just wanted to be alive and not live, to just do nothing. I was so depressed, and a lot of it had to do with my body, and I felt like I just didn't have anything to contribute anymore. I was like, I don't know what I have to contribute to. Like, my job is supposed to be a stay-at-home mom, and I can't do my job. I don't even trust myself to hold my own baby. I had multiple seizures while holding Benjamin, even one when he was very, very small. His first time, what was supposed to be his first time swimming. Of course, I don't remember this, but I've heard the story a million bajillion times. And it was his first time swimming. If I remember the timeline correctly, he was only maybe 2 months old, something around there, maybe 3 or 4, I don't know. He was very little, very, very, very little. And I was holding him, and my soon-to-be mother-in-law went to snap a picture of us, and we were smiling and happy, and then I fell to the ground. And the way that I happened to be holding his head when I fell, the doctors, when we went to the hospital, said that if I had not have been holding his head in that way, he could have gotten seriously injured on his head, especially because he was that little. Tell me that isn't a God thing. Well, you can tell me that, but I'm not going to believe you because that's a God thing. But I mean, when you have a seizure, especially a grand mal seizure or tonic-clonic, my bad, you are full body convulsing. You are not conscious. You are not aware of your surroundings, when, where, who, how, whatever, And so the fact that I was even still holding him to begin with, any length of time, in any capacity, like even if it was just for a second, the fact that a doctor was able to say that is crazy. And the same thing happened only a couple of months later. Me and two of my friends who are now bridesmaids, what up, shout out to y'all, Jenna and Shelby. We went to a football game, the homecoming game for one of my soon-to-be bonus daughters. Shout out to Riley. And we didn't even make it to the stands to sit on, to sit and watch the game. They said that we were in line for the concessions, and so standing on concrete, same exact thing, holding Benjamin and, talking, and dropped and had a seizure. There's so much that I could go into about like my testimony just with that period of time. And I'm getting kind of like a little sidetracked, kind of, sort of, not really. But, between the seizures I had while holding him, the fact that other people didn't trust me, and I was very aware of that, which obviously makes you feel very insecure. It makes you feel almost like a child because other people don't think you can do things. But it also, you have the adult mindset where you're not going to rebel against that. You're not a child, so you're not going to be like, why don't you trust me? I'm going to prove you wrong. Oh my gosh. No, like, I'm a grown adult, and I can see the situation and the circumstances, and, I agree with you. I hate that you don't trust me right now. You, everyone in my life. But it's circumstantial, it's totally legitimate, and I agree with you. I don't trust me either. And the worst part is, it's completely out of my control. I'm doing everything correct that is in my control. I'm taking my medications. I'm trying to take care of my body, eating right, exercising, trying to lose weight. 'Cause one of the medications, if anyone knows about Keppra, I've had too much experience with that medication. I despise Keppra. But that medicine, it actually made my seizures worse. It made me, oh my goodness, it made me gain a whole bunch of weight, like 50 pounds. It was a hot mess. And so nobody trusted me. And again, that didn't make me mad because I didn't trust me either. But of course, as an adult, it does something to you. It makes you feel very insecure, very inadequate. And the window of opportunity that the devil had to sneak his little sneaky self in and be like, okay, let's see what I can do here. So he did. He got into my mind, and before I knew it, I was saying things to people like, well, I mean, what's the point? Like, I can't do anything right. I can't contribute anything. I'm supposed to be a stay-at-home mom. I can't even take care of my own baby. I can't even be trusted to hold him without supervision, without sitting down. I can't go up and down stairs. I can't, carry the laundry basket. I can't drive. I can't work. Scotty's going to want to leave me. Like, I don't have anything to contribute to our relationship. I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't do this. I can't do that. I'm not good enough. I'm not pretty enough. I've done this. Look at my body. Look at going on and on. I'm not a good mom. And then I start thinking about, Levi, my oldest son. And I'm like, the devil started trying to get into my head about Levi, like, wow, it's your fault. What you have going on right now, you passed this on to him. You did that. And it was around that time, and all of that went on for a long time. And it was around that time that the devil started trying to be like, it's your fault. Where I was that was kind of where I had to put the stop sign up, put the roadblock up, because I was like, hold on, this is about to take a whole different turn. And I just remember literally, I think probably for the first time, like ever, truly giving something totally over to God. I was like, this is already spiraling in a direction that is not great. And if I let this set of thoughts go how they're going, it's going to be awful. And I gave it to him, and I was like, I know I need some help right now. I need to be off of these medications. I need to get the seizures under control. I don't know how to do that right now. There's so many different things going on. I was like, and I need to be back in counseling ASAP. I need to be back involved in church. There's a lot of things that need to happen. And God revealed to me during that time, he revealed to me why, or part of why, he brought Levi home to his heavenly home when he did. And he told me that if he had stayed on earth, that Levi, his physical body, his physical health would have gone downhill. And he would have just progressively gotten worse and worse and worse with his seizures and his health. And by the Lord allowing me to kind of have this time period, it gave me much more of a reality check. Like, now I was prepared for him to tell me that. Now I could understand more. Because beforehand, my seizures had been much more, I don't want to say reasonable, because they were still bad when they would happen, but they were not often. They were very short when they did happen. Like I said, they were very well managed with medication, things like that. So I needed to go through that time period to have that personal experience and to truly have much more of a testimony for myself with epilepsy, to say, not only do I have it, but I've lived a terrible season of my life with it. So I can understand what my son went through from the parent perspective. I can understand what my son went through from my perspective, like living it. It gives me more of an understanding when I'm speaking on it. It gives me much more of an understanding when I'm talking from where I'm coming from. And flash forward, then my youngest son ends up getting diagnosed. Like I said, his are much more mild, but still, it all connected. And because of that time period I was in, and because of how awful it was, and there were times literally where, the person who probably saw the most seizures during that time is definitely Vicky, who's my soon-to-be mother-in-law, just because Scotty travels for work. Both of my parents, they live like an hour and a half away in two different directions. So she definitely saw most of it, because she was the closest to take me to the hospital quickly or something. And there were times where she would say they'd have to put, like, the breathing mask on me, or whatever, oxygen mask. I'm saying that wrong. But, she said there were times where I was turning blue. Like, it was bad. It was really bad. And as morbid as this sounds, but as real as this is, my testimony is a lot more impactful now because I can reach more people. I don't know if that makes any sense. Now I don't just I can relate to more people than just I have epilepsy, and I've had a child who has had epilepsy, and I've had a child pass away. Now I can directly speak on having an awful season with epilepsy, and because of that season of just awfulness and the depression and the when is this gonna end, I don't see an end in sight, what is going on, the hospital, everything, I can put myself in Levi's shoes, and I could really understand the gravity of what I felt like God was saying when he said if he had stayed on earth, his physical body, it would have gotten worse for him. He fulfilled his mission for me and my kingdom on earth, and it was time to bring him home. And like I said, I was never mad at God, but of course, that doesn't mean you can't wonder why and be confused. And when God felt like it was time to reveal that to me, and he didn't have to. I wasn't, there were definitely times where I was asking him, I'm a little confused by this. I trust you, but if you want to reveal it to me, you can. And when he felt like I was ready for that, he did share that with me, and he did not have to do that. But I think all of it, like I said, just wraps together for a bigger plan, a bigger purpose. And I just want to encourage somebody today. You may have been going through something, regardless of what it is, health-wise or not. You may have been going through something for a lot longer than the time period that I was dealing with my seizures, which, like I said, it was for about 15 months. It was for a hot minute. But there's people who deal with things for years. Now, don't get me wrong. There's other things in life that I have dealt with much longer than that. And there have been ripple effects of that time period since then, but that's not the point. The point is that what you're going through, it may have been a lot shorter than 15 months. It may have been a lot longer. It may be seizures. It may be something totally different. It may not even be physical at all. I don't know. But whatever it is, hear me when I say that if you give it to God, he will give you the strength to power through. That may not look like what you hope it does. That may not look like what you expect it to look like. It may not look like, oh, I'm going to give this to God and the problem's going to be fixed right away. No. Unfortunately, it does not work like that. Sometimes it does. Miracles do happen, and sometimes our miracle comes a lot later than we wish it did, okay? But just know that we can only get that undescribable strength and joy and peace, okay, that inner peace in the situation, once we do truly give it to him. And I'm not saying that's an easy task. Once you come out of what you're going through, don't forget about God. Don't just run to him during a crisis. You need to have a grateful heart. You need to check your heart posture on a regular basis, quite frankly, on the little things, big things, on the mundane day-to-day things. Like I said, what we do on this channel, regardless of what the topic of the video is, we're always going to bring it back to the Lord. So that's what we do. Anyways, that's what I got for y'all today. I don't know. Is it this way? I know things are reversed, so maybe it's this way because I'm seeing it right this way. I don't know, bro. But one of the ways you saw a 2, and I'm telling you, 2. It's been 2 years since I've had a seizure, and I'm very excited about it, and I give all glory to God. So that is it. That's all I got for you. I hope that you took some encouragement from this today, a little bit of my testimony. I hope that we were able to connect. And, you know, if you yourself have an epilepsy story, if you know someone with epilepsy, I hope that you, again, learn something from this. We were able to connect, yada, yada, all the good things. And maybe you learned something new about me. If you like content like this, where it all comes back to faith-based, be sure to subscribe for more. Like I said, I have a new series coming out in just a few days, so look for that. As always, I love you. God loves you so much more. I hope that you pray and drink more water. Until next time, my sunflowers. Bye.